Okay, we're on. Okay, what's your question?
Well, I was just thinking that, people keep saying marriage is between a man and a woman. But I was thinking, Adam was the one that sort of instituted marriage, yeah?
Not sort of, totally.
You totally.
Well, he was the one that instituted marriage. Okay, so but I'm also wondering, well,
Okay, that's fine.
it's hard to ask my question, because I'm thinking, okay, if Adam is Elohim, then did also Elohim institute it? Or if Adam was Adam and he's moving away from Yahweh, is that a result of that? Or, so I just have a lot
Okay,
of
this is gonna be a all
questions.
day thing, I see now. What I want you to do is hold that segment, that part of your question,
Mhm.
because I really want to segue into it from the material understanding of marriage. Okay? First of all, when a woman made the announcement that he personally felt that a man and a woman, that marriage, homosexuals should be able to get married, be they two men or two women, I wholeheartedly agree with him. And I don't agree with him based upon Christianity. Because, first of all, he is not a Christian president. He's a president of the United States. If he is a Christian president, then he has to make decisions that are contrary to what Muslims believe, what Hindus believe, etc. When you are elected to lead a nation, you have to take into consideration the belief systems of everyone in that nation. The other thing about that is this, marriage from the inception, and I don't mean from the spiritual inception that Audrey just spoke of, but I'm talking about from the paper trail of marriage. Marriage has been about chattel property and status in the community. The more wives you have, the greater the status has been. And along with that woman comes a dowry. So it's been about the acquisition of property. Now, these people who are holier than thou about marriage, they want to be separate, want separation of church and government for tax purposes only. When it's convenient, they want that separation. But when it's not convenient, they don't. For example, if marriage is a Christian institution, then why is it that it has to be sanctioned by the government before it's respected? The marriage license filing with the clerk of court is what sanctions it through the government. So marriage is not a Christian institution. If it were a Christian institution, then only Christians would be able to perform the ceremony. Marriage is a civil/religious institution. And the reason I say religious is because other people who believe in other religious concepts are permitted to be married, and their marriages are sanctioned by the civil government. Therefore, marriage is civil/religious. Now, I do not believe that any religion should be forced to perform a homosexual marriage if that is against what they believe. But by the same token, I do not believe that homosexuals should not be able to get married based upon civil law when they are in civil society as well. It doesn't matter the belief of the probate judge. They can perform a marriage, be it on the courthouse steps or in your yard. And even when the church performs a marriage, it is not recognized unless the one who performs it sends that marriage license in. So my whole concept of that is based upon civil society. He had no other choice, even if he personally felt that it shouldn't happen. Based upon civil society, he has no choice. And I say that because not only does he get elected to represent heterosexuals, but he also gets elected to represent homosexuals and atheists and Buddhists and Hindus and Christians and Native Americans who have their own beliefs and those who don't know what they believe. All of that has to be taken into consideration. So I think that to harp on a one issue thing is an issue. Excuse me, is an issue of convenience. If the civil government were to say, in order for you to for us to sanction your weddings through the certificates of marriage, then you have to give up your tax break. None of them would do that. None of them would do that. So my thing is that if you're looking for the government to sanction it, then you're in partnership with the government when it comes to marriage. If you are not, then the government does not have a right to take marriage into consideration when you deal with Social Security, when you deal with inheritance. So either it is an institution of Christianity, or it's an institution of civil society, or it's a blurred line between the both of them. And all of us in this room and everyone who listened at this and shall listen to this know that there is a blurred line. And as many ceremonies as I have performed and forgotten that on that Monday to send in that marriage certificate, and only to do it later on in the week and chastise myself for having done that, I realized the severity, of that. The other thing is, if you don't produce a marriage certificate, then you cannot inherit from someone who's in the military or any other governmental agency or private for that matter. Now, there is not one Christian church that I know of who issue marriage certificates. Not one. The marriage license is purchased downtown from civil government. And if you say, well, that has nothing to do with it, then my question is this: why is it when you go to that minister to perform that marriage, if you don't have that certificate, he's not going to do it? He is not going to do it if you don't have that certificate. You just can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have it both ways. If there is a separation of church and state, then the line cannot be blurred when you want it to be blurred and be definitive when you want it to be definitive. It just can't happen that way. Now, are there any questions about that? Do you concur? Does it make sense?
Yes. Otherwise, if you deny me rights, whatever they are in this fiscal realm, then why am I paying taxes? Why am I doing all the other things?
That's my point about the whole idea of civil society being in partnership with whomever it is that performs the ceremony, be it a rabbi or a pastor or whomever. But I reiterate, I don't believe that the church should be forced, to enter that realm of marriage between homosexuals. That's not what they believe. I don't believe that at all. But I do believe that the civil government has to recognize that. Now, your question is?
I was just thinking that the whole institution of marriage itself is sort of Adam-made. I mean, I know there are sort of spiritual things that happen there, but in terms of the institution itself is
Okay.
Adam-made.
And it is. Well, but the institution itself, actually, the institution of itself is based upon the foundation that Adam laid.
Yeah,
But it has grown into something a bit different.
yeah.
But the institution is definitely, and I will go into that in a moment.
I was gonna ask you, what she's talking, isn't that on the same line of what we talked about last week with the thoughts? Everything
Yes.
that was created,
Yes, it was created with those.
was
Yes.
created with
Yeah.
thoughts, and the whole concept with Adam, what he spoke out and
Yeah.
all of that, that would line up and fall under that also, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, because what happened is,
Yeah.
what happened when he went into the deep sleep, remember we talked about that last week, there's no evidence that he was awakened. He went into the trance. And it was during the period of that trance that the partner was made. And that was made through his thoughts. And the moment that he saw himself being presented with this woman, he said, this is flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone. And for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his Isha, his wife, or the woman. Now, the idea that man, Ish, and Isha, woman, both of those words have in them the word fire. And that's indicative of the passion that is supposed to be between the two. But that passion can be directed towards each other or away from each other. And the passion of the male, when everything became physical in terms of the skin being overlaid, the passion of the male has been since then to blame the female for what is termed the fall, because of what the woman said in the garden, not realizing that at this point, all of them were spiritual, and the spirit man knows all things, so he was well aware. So he spoke from his feminine side, or his feminine understanding of what he desired, and as a result of that, you have the scripture saying that there should be enmity between the man and the woman. There should be resistance between the two. Well, that resistance can serve to strengthen or to weaken. But heretofore, it has served to weaken, even though it appears to be stronger. It has weakened us spiritually because it has created a male-dominated society that has no compassion for anyone other than itself. And what I mean by that is this. In order for, and let me use an example. If a woman is to succeed in the private realm, she has to be submissive. Because if she opens her mouth in an executive position and challenges authority or offers a different opinion, she is seen as being nagging or overly aggressive. If a man does it, he's being seen as being strong and just overtly expressing thoughts that could move the company in a different direction. It's more, you see where I'm coming from? That's the difference. So it has indeed weakened us in that area. So when we talk about the whole concept of marriage, the concept of marriage, if you look at it from the perspective that it began in the mind of the Adam, then we have to ask ourselves, if it began in the mind of the Adam, and if we see how it progressively moved us away from the place of enlightenment till we got to this place of condensed energy or fossilized energy, we got to this place of it, and so my question would be, if that be the case, then would it not make sense for us to understand, in order for us to get back or get to the place where we were supposed to be from beginning, then we have to get back to that place where the sleep took place and wake up. Does that make sense? And in order to do that, we have to be respectful of each other, regardless of what you believe versus what I believe. Because all the thoughts that anyone have or projects is in every one of us. Every one of us. The question is whether or not you act on it. Now, as far as the idea of homosexuality and its origin, I don't know. But there have been some things I've offered in the past, but they just don't seem right. So I'm not even going to deal with that. I don't know what the origin of it is yet. You remember how we began to see the origin of racism and began to able to articulate it?
Yeah.
I think that we would be in a place and able to articulate homosexuality. I do not believe that anyone in their right mind, well, let me pass this, not in their right mind, I don't believe anyone, period, would choose to be ridiculed, would choose to be ostracized, would choose to be treated less than a dog, would choose to be mobbed outside of a bar, or would choose to live in a constant condition of being threatened, would choose to have to hide what you really feel, would choose to be on the front line and die in the military who do not recognize you but would drum you out if they found you out. I don't believe anyone would choose that. It has to be something stronger than choice. It has to be something much, much stronger than choice. I don't know what it is yet. And it may be a different kind of passion that we have not yet been able to see or articulate. I don't know. But I do know this. It is wrong to mistreat or abuse anyone based upon whether it be race, sexual orientation. It doesn't matter what it is. It is patently wrong. I might not agree with you, and I may not go along with what you do or participate in that, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the free will to do that. You have the free will to do that, regardless of who you are. And we cannot talk about free will when it's comfortable, and not talk about it when it's not so comfortable. Free will is real regardless of the circumstances or situations that you find yourself in. And we can't deny that. That cannot be denied. That's the reality of it. Any other questions? Any comments?
I'm just thinking about what we've been talking about as it relates to feminine energy, and I don't mean gender. I mean feminine energy and masculine energy, and the need, and that we all are, even physically. If we talk about physical, we all have feminine and masculinity type propensities. I guess I'm trying to think about if that feminine energy, not gender, and masculine energy has to become one in order to be complete, in a sense. It's hard to get a grasp on the spiritual aspect of that. And when I know that the spirit mirrors the physical.
Right. And that's about what I'm talking about. I don't see it yet.
That's kind of the thing I'm thinking about too, is they find that masculine and feminine thing, is it there still? I mean, between a male and a male.
Yes.
What appears to be a male and a male,
Yeah.
is the masculine feminine energy still there?
Yeah, it is still
That's
there.
what I'm wondering.
Yes.
And yeah, and I see that. I see that because even physically, we know that it's there. So spiritually, it's there. but I'm just trying to, and I guess get a grasp on how that plays out in terms of the congealment in the physical
Right.
of male, and then female,
Right. And that's the part that I'm searching for, because, I mean, let's think about this thing. Dick Cheney is pushing for gay marriage.
That says a lot.
But do you think that he's pushing for it because if his daughter was not a lesbian, do you think he would be doing it? No.
No, he's very concerned.
No. So the whole idea of this thing is much deeper than somebody professing to be a conservative and being against it, or being for it. Because again, that points to what the premises of my statements are. We want to do what's convenient. He pushes for it because his daughter. That's convenience. So when we look at it, and I do understand that we will never see it from a material perspective. We're definitely going to have to talk this thing out and explore it from the premises of the spiritual. It has to be something there greater than what we have seen. And just to dismiss something flippantly and to hurt someone's feelings, or to ostracize somebody, or to desire somebody's death simply because of their sexual orientation, that's ludicrous to me. So what happens when it's yours? You know, what happens if everyone who stands so vehemently against the whole concept of homosexuality to the point of wanting them to disappear? My desire would be for everyone who feels like that to have a child in their house. Then what?
In your face.
Yeah, then what? You know, so you have to respect everyone. Now keep this in mind. It doesn't say that he breathed the breath of life into everyone except those who have a propensity for homosexual relationships. It doesn't say that. It does not say that. It does not say that, how can you say you love me when you don't love the one whom you see every day? It does not say that you love everybody except the homosexual. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say respect the divinity in everyone except the homosexual. It doesn't say that the homosexual doesn't have divinity in them. It doesn't say that. And regardless of what evangelicals say, it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it true. And if the ones who are so hell bent on battling this thing of homosexuality, then you tell me what's worse: two men or two women who are affectionate toward each other and desire to be married, or a priest molesting boys. Which one is worse? And you do not hear the evangelicals railing against that.
And one is against the will, and one is I'm exercising my will.
Yeah,
Voluntarily.
right. And we talk about the free will thing again. The child doesn't have that expression. He's been manipulated and raped primarily. That's exactly what's happening. So how do you justify that? And yet you get on TV and do all this grandstanding when these two people have exercised their free will, and the priest and the boy. There's no balance there. So something has to give, in this context of things. And to me, there was a greater confusion in the ones who are fighting the homosexual relationship, but sweeping under the rug the priest and the boy. That to me, that is absolutely crazy.
Schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic, yeah.
Not only that, some cases they're fighting it because they're in the closet
And-
about them being
And even if, and you're right, some of them are in the closet, but even if they are not in the closet, even if they are the heterosexual, it still is wrong. That's my point. It is still wrong. It doesn't hold water. You cannot pick and choose what you are going to respect as right and wrong. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Light is light and darkness is darkness. And darkness is confusion. And that might be the key to a whole lot of what we believe. Darkness is the confusion. And we have to bring light to this place of confusion. If we don't bring some order to this disorder, then nothing ever begins to line up. And I do know, beyond the shadow of any doubt, that I'm out here on a limb, but it doesn't matter. I've been living on a limb for the last 20 years and it hasn't fallen, and I don't expect it to. The tree has fallen, but the limb hasn't. So I'm good with that. Excuse me. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are two things that must be respected in everyone. That's their humanity and their divinity. It must be respected.
There's a thought, and I'm trying to see how to put it out. Ever since I made the decision to wear my hair, because I really want to go bald, but it's
Go ahead.
amazing I guess the thoughts of what's coming out, and see how it ties in, because so many people that it's just stupidity.
Yes, so.
Asking if
Uh-huh.
you're gay.
Yeah.
So as a woman, if you got hair on your head, then you're straight, but the minute you cut it off, or you coming out the closet, or and I'm sitting there like, you gotta know who you are and whose you are when you decide to cut your hair off, because it's the stupidity. So like you were saying, just multiply that beyond for someone to have to deal with this every day of what people say and do, and just because.
The assumptions
Yeah.
that because my daughter is a basketball coach and is good at the game, is she gay? That's crazy. No, she's not. Yeah, I mean the assumptions. And she's not. But even if she were, she's still my daughter. She's still a human. She's still spiritual. She still is who she is. It's just that simple. And I'm not an advocate for anything other than what's right. And that's what all of us must be. An advocate for what is right. We must maintain that. So, if backing up to what started the discussion, if America is to determine leadership based upon the personal belief of a president who represents everyone, then America itself has simply exposed the lie that it really is in a more clear way. And what I mean by that is this. If the truth were to be known or to be applied, then there would be a total respect for life. And the 20 states that have stand your ground laws would never gotten it. There would never have been targets of Trayvon sold in Florida if respect for life is there. And the idea of the two-party system in this country is a perpetuation of something that is not real. And the thing that is not real is that people will forever allow you to stand on both sides of an issue for your convenience. What I mean by that is this. the Democrats talk about the injustice in the Stand Your Ground law, but they won't do anything to deal with the National Rifle Association. The Republicans talk about the need for Stand Your Ground law, but God loves everybody. There's so many contradictions in that.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
And that's the concept. So that has to be dealt with, you know. I remember when I was a little boy, when they used to talk about how the Night Riders of the Klan, they'd be in church on Sunday evening, and Sunday night they go hang an N-word, you know. But that's the attitude that was there, and we have to get beyond that if we are going to be the people who we were created to be. And who we were created to be goes far beyond in America or China or any nation whatsoever. It goes far beyond that. Our spirituality, our godliness does not have national boundaries. It cannot have national boundaries. Our spirituality, our godliness, the creative beings that we are, cannot be bound by somebody's myopic view of what life is. Our belief systems, based upon what we find from the scriptures, cannot be housed in somebody's fears about what's going to strengthen or decrease the strength of a family structure. Economics decreases family structures, the strength of family structures. When you cast someone into poverty and they have to scrape for a living, they go do whatever it takes to survive. So you can frame it any way you want to. The reality of it is we have to be true to what we believe, regardless of whose toes we step on, regardless of the backlash that comes from it. And I have gotten backlash from a lot of things, and I'm not worried about the blowback on what I'm saying. It doesn't bother me, not anymore. I'm not worried about that because I know whose I am, and I know for the reason for which I have been put in this earth. And if it is, as the principal of the school I graduated from high school, and if it is to always fight for the little man or the oppressed, as he put it, then that's what it is. A statement that he made years ago before he died is that you will always find James Richard fighting for the little man or the oppressed, that the underdog. That's who I am, and right now, everyone who is not rich is underdog. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Everyone who is not wealthy is an underdog. So now you fought Obama on the basis of racism, but you called it socialism. Now you go transfer it from socialism to homosexual. You see what I'm saying? So because why is it that you didn't attack Dick Cheney when he went to Maryland to campaign for gay marriage?
And you've got Newt Gingrich calling Obama's presidency the most radical of any president ever. Radical is the same term they used for the South Carolina legislature that instituted public education during Reconstruction.
Robert Smalls, yep. And radical.
Radical is another word for
us, for what we did.
Yeah.
Radical is one of those few words. And because they did say that the South Carolina legislature was the most radical in the history of the state. And that was when the African American dead slaves were in the state legislature. So we I'm not discussing this so that we can get angry with somebody because of racist thoughts or because of the I know the word I want, but I can't pronounce it, so I'm gonna say it. I can hear it in my head, but it won't come out of my mouth. I'm not doing this because I want us to be angry with someone because of racism or because someone is standing so vehemently against a civil marriage between the same sexes. No, I'm doing this because there needs to be an understanding of what's really taking place. I am tired of people checking their brain, their minds at the door when they walk into a church. I'm tired of that. I am so tired of people being told what to think. It is like my saying that we rear the kids to have their own opinion about things, but we just forgot the opinion. We could tell them what opinion to have. You know, I'm tired of that, but that's what happens. We are constantly flipping between opinions, and the church follows suit just like lambs to the slaughter, rather than stopping and thinking about what's happening here. Let's sever the total relationship that the civil government has with the idea of marriage. Let's sever that. Let's say that if we are Christians, we are not going to allow the civil government to have anything to do with marriage. Let's say that. And I guarantee you, everybody in every church will fight it, because that means no Social Security. Mm-hmm. That means no inheritance. That means now you got to find a way to make sure that your spouse gets whatever you leave. Mm-hmm. Especially if they don't leave a will. Now prove that you're married. So let's sever the ties there. If we believe that marriage is a Christian institution and there should be a separation of church and state, let's just do that. Let's refuse to use a marriage license for anyone anymore that's produced by the state. Let's sanction our own. How long do you think that's going to last? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's not, and my whole, I just feel that it is time for us to stop being silent when people are being treated like chattel property or like non-humans. Mm-hmm. I am tired of hearing the testimonies of kids whose parents says, if you gay, don't come home. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of hearing reports of kids who are gay committing suicide and nobody seeming to care. I'm tired of that. I am tired of homosexuality in the pulpit beating up homosexuality in the pews and nobody saying anything about it in the pulpit, simply because he got a wife and 14 kids. You know, it doesn't matter whether you got a wife and kids. I'm tired of that. At some point, someone has to speak out, regardless of the potential consequences. That's what I believe. Somebody has to do that. And if that somebody has to be me, then so be it. But I cannot sit here and think that I am the only one who feel the way I feel, because I know I'm not. But there are people who are shy. They're afraid to speak what they really feel about it. The younger people are not. But my generation are. And the reason is because they've been browbeaten by the church. And the feeling like, if you believe in that, you ain't no Christian. Well, are you a Christian if you believe in lynching me? Come on now. I mean, it's like Thomas Jefferson said, I think that slavery is one of the most abominable sins known to man. Hell, he had slaves his whole life.
And he didn't free him after he said that?
No. So what am I saying to you? Don't tell me that slavery is abominable and it's not reflective in your policies. You were president. You could have dealt with that. I am tired of the duplicity. Somebody got to speak the truth. And I have no more sense than to believe that all of this is divinely orchestrated.
Yeah.
to bring everything to a head so that we can begin to face the issues that need to be dealt with head on. So we can get to the place of beginning, so we can be born again. Get to the place of beginning. I believe that. It's not going to happen until we take a stand. You cannot go along just to get along. You have to be, as they put it, radical. I don't mind being called radical. I don't mind. Matter of fact, that's what I've been called all my life. But it was for a different reason. Any questions? Are there any questions from the phone? Shall we check to see if there are any questions in the online? Okay.
Found a lot of contradictions and everything, and it's funny when you talk about the racism part that
Good thing you sit close to the mic.
someone can, I know, someone can actually deal better with hatred towards themselves than they can with a situation where they see someone as being separate from themselves when they're actually doing the same thing, showing hatred and separateness from that other individual. And also, I definitely concur in the divinity thing, because to deny the divinity in anything is to actually deny yourself. It also shows that you are confused and don't understand who you are.
And homosexuality is not more prevalent. It's been out there. It's just more public than what it has been. It's not more prevalent, it's more public. And everything, what do you think Jesus meant when he said that? Everything in the darkness will come to the light. We have taken that to be a very negative thing. Now, do you really want to look at that? Think about that for a moment. Everything that's done in the darkness will come to the light. Think about that. We have taken that to mean that what you hide to do is going to be revealed, right? What you're doing in hide is going to be revealed. It doesn't mean that. Everything that's confusing will be brought to the light. Everything that doesn't have order will be ordered. Everything that you don't understand will be brought to it. Darkness to light doesn't change. The meaning of it doesn't change. The metaphor doesn't change. Everything that you are confused about, you will be given an understanding of it. That's what he's talking about.
And that's everything that we've been taught since the first time we
Everything.
set foot in the church.
Everything. Everything.
The controversy being out there definitely allows everyone the opportunity to actually deal with the situation and get it right. So it's taken off the back burner and put right in front of your face.
That's it. And that's the light that's shown on it. And it's no different than the darkness of racism that was brought to the light. We can articulate the origin of it. We can articulate how we must handle racism, how we must deal with racism, as opposed to trying to end racism by legislating laws or end racism through marching in the streets. It doesn't happen that way. We've begun to see how we deal with it from a spiritual perspective, and the same we must do from with the idea of same-sex intimacy. How is it that we can say that we are of one blood, and all of us are the sons of the Adam? Is that not what we're taught?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened to those who are gay? They're not. Because if they are, then they're connected to us too.
I was thinking about what a great amount of confusion someone must have to deny their own child because of their sexual orientation.
Yeah.
But if you gave life, that's the part of it. You gave life to that child that has a different sexual
For
orientation.
you to
So
deny that, yes.
you know it's denying you.
Well, not only that, but if you're saying that this child's sexual orientation is because of some type of confusion in their upbringing, you raised them.
Oops. Yeah.
once he left me.
I mean, you see what I'm talking about?
Well, the other thing I'm thinking too is, if homosexuality brings a balance to something, there must be a lot of confusion on the other side too.
Yeah,
Of the people who say they're straight or heterosexual.
it is. I mean, the confusion on the other side is, I got a wide stance.
Mm.
You remember the guy in the bathroom at the airport? You know, that's the confusion. The confusion is the Ted dude that was in Haggard, whatever his name is, that was in the having sex with this guy.
Yeah.
And doing drugs that he said buying drugs but never doing. That, you know, that's the confusion.
Yeah, you didn't in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the confusion is. Think about what I'm saying. I'm saying to you. And right now, I do believe that this had to be done because there was an opportunity for Bill Clinton to do it. He said behind the scenes, I agree with this. I don't care what you agree with behind the scenes. Let it reflect in your policy. You see where I'm coming from? It doesn't matter. You say that you agree with that behind the scenes that gay people should not be discriminated against, then you do don't ask, don't tell. So here this guy comes who says, you know what? My thoughts about this is evolving. Wasn't evolving, he already knew. But he knew the game he had to play. So now he tells you what his personal views are. But when you look at the things that led up to that, the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. The law that prevents you from discriminating against gay people, you know, in the workplace. The thing where the shepherd dude was beat up. You know, all these kinds of things comes into play. All these things must come into play.
Have you talked about Biden's role in it?
No, I haven't.
About what?
Biden's role, Vice President Biden.
Oh.
Now, my beliefs, and this is totally based upon me looking at political strategy. I believe that Biden was sent out to do that, to lay the foundation for it. Yes. Actually, I don't even think it was a test balloon, Bob. I think what they did, they were going to come out with it, but they put him out there so that he could get all the rage towards him. Now, the impact of it is softened. Then here on the next thing you see is Duncan, education dude, they ask him the question, and he says, yes, our people get married. I mean, no hesitation whatsoever. The president make policy, not the vice and not the cabinet. Most people think that these people just go on these talk shows. They don't. There is an interview prep before you go. And the interview prep keeps you in line with the policy. That's what interview prep does. So you're not going to make me believe that this was not done as a build-up to the actual announcement. Now, I think that maybe the announcement might have been sped up because of the amount of pressure that was coming from the gay community, and also they knew that the next interview that the president did, he was going to have to face that question. So rather than face that question in an interview, let's do it on our own terms. We go set the interview up. And that's what they did. So that's how I feel about the whole situation with Biden and all the other people who were involved in that. And you know, call me crazy, call me wrong, that's okay. But I just don't think I'm wrong in that. I really don't think I am. If you watch how things progress, and there are some people who think that I'm pretty politically savvy to notice stuff like that. So
Those people aren't in this room.
they're the people I used to organize with. Okay.
I have one. I'm gonna put it. Well, it's going back, this tying it in with what we talked about last week when we were saying, when we were talking about dealing with Cush, the thoughts, and the slavery, and that blacks, we were created, you know, we're that part, we were the only thought that could withstand pretty much the heat and the endurance and everything that came with slavery. It's ironic how the first African American president is the one that's opening up the can of worm and dealing with this, on this issue.
Jethro, you must lead us to the wilderness because you're our eyes. And if you lead us to the wilderness, then Elohim will do the same for you as he does for us. You receive the same promise. So, this is a vast wilderness of confusion. And I know that there are people who say, why are you talking about that? Quite frankly, everybody will be talking about something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, this is the topic. And the biggest thing is this. Well, you know, African Americans probably won't support him because African Americans don't believe in homosexuality and homosexual marriages. Well, every one of us knows somebody or kin to somebody who's homosexual or both. Every one of us. We've been down that road before.
Everybody else reject.
And to say that, this is the thing that really ticks me off. To say that is to say that we are a one-issue people. That is to say that we are politically inferior. That's crazy. And to buy into that is to admit that you are politically inferior.
That's true.
Even if I totally disagree with what happened, I have to look at the economics of what took place under George and what's being promised on the Mitt Romney. I have to look at the turmoil that was created in the world by that group of people. Because the same neocons that were with Bush are with Mitt. They're his advisors. So we can't be a one-issue people. And we are not. We really aren't. And we don't really like to talk about the idea of homosexuality and that it exists. You know, we don't really want to talk about it. But it does exist. And I remember when growing up, they wouldn't even say the word. When I was growing up, they would say, stay away from so-and-so because he ain't right. And you automatically knew what that meant.
Yeah, that's true.
You automatically knew what that meant. And nobody ever said, he ain't right means da-da-da. Nobody ever said that. But you always knew what it meant. There's something wrong with that boy. He ain't right. You know? But that you just knew. And what happened is you grow up with that kind of discriminatory idea in your heart or in your mind at least.
Yeah.
And you have to begin to think through things for yourself, especially if you have a desire to understand the mysteries that are in the Book of Holiness. You have to do that. You have to be able to think through things. And if you are in the position that the Creator has placed me, especially in dealing with the number of people I come in contact with, I cannot afford to discriminate in any way whatsoever. I have to deal with what I feel the truth to be. I have to speak what I see.
Yeah.
Because if I don't speak what I see, I would become blind. I have to speak what I see. Very.
I mean, wouldn't it make sense though, if we're all expressions of the Creator? I mean, you look down the line, I mean, black, white, Asian, whatever. It would just make common sense that, okay, if the Creator is learning through us, then He chooses this vessel, okay, this person is homosexual. You know?
Well, in actuality, everything is a reflection of us. Because it was through this trance that we went in that all this thing came into being in this dream world, this illusionary world that we live in. And this is the kicker. On one hand, we are told that none of this stuff is real, that all of it is temporal. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, we are told that this is the stuff that you have to fight to hold on to.
Yes. giving all the credence. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You can't have it both ways. If something is temporary, you don't allow it to control your life. Because you don't know when it's going to leave. For example, if I'm in a relationship with someone and I tell them, I'm just here for a little while. I'm gonna love you while I'm here, and I'm gonna do all I can do, while I'm here. But I can't tell you when this relationship gonna be dissolved. I'm just here for a little while. Who gonna put up with that? You see where I'm coming from? Who's gonna tolerate that?
And I was thinking about the sanctity of marriage, or the supposed sanctity of marriage, with how it's given so much credence as far as this piece of paper, but no one is talking about it from the spiritual level of what marriage really is. So they are making it all material. That's what it's been regulated down to.
And to be honest with you, marriage has been material as far back as man can write history. No one is really, well, I can't say no one, but very few people, I should say, has looked at it from a spiritual perspective.
So that definitely right there makes it into a property, because it's something material. So
Yes, it's what you own.
it's not
Do what I
significant
say.
at all.
But you know, yeah, on that level that Sheldon,
You should have seen her expression.
that Sheldon just brought up, because
Hey, you should have seen her expression when I said that.
Like she was a young woman, you did not. I'm glad she had that laptop in her lap.
I said we eating a different kind of apple.
he luggage in.
Yeah.
Because what I'm hearing so much, even now, when it comes to when it has, I hear a lot of talk radio when they be having women call in and sound out, for the husband. That's pretty much all I'm hearing on the female aspect of it, because men, that's what man is told in marriage, he's supposed to provide for his wife and his family. And all of my colleagues, I have a good man because he's out there working day in and day out, so I can have what I want, and me and the kids can have what I want. And I'm sitting here, but what if something happened and you weren't getting everything that you want? You ain't driving that nice car that you say he's putting you in. You wearing all that jewelry. You going wherever you want, making those trips. What if all that was changed, where you wouldn't get that? Are you?
You're a good man.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it still a good man?
Is that what
Is
you're
it still a good man?
Altruism.
Now I want to pull this together. We have seen racism and dealt with it from a spiritual perspective. We have looked at atheists and dealt with it from a spiritual perspective. We have looked at economics and dealt with it from a spiritual perspective. Now, obviously, it's time for us to look at homosexuality and explore it from a spiritual perspective. Exactly how that is going to be done, I'm not sure yet. It doesn't matter. Because I didn't know how any of the rest of our name was going to be done either. But it happened. What am I saying to you? Everything that's controversial has been dumped in our laps to deal with. And deal with it we must. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. I remember last week telling my group on Monday that one of the things I really, really wanted to do was come across the path of those who, especially this lady who says she's an atheist. I wanted to meet them. I want to talk to them because the questions that they raised that pushed them in that direction were questions that can be easily answered by anybody in this room. They're not the most complex questions, but they're questions that the church never answers.
I don't know a lot of atheists, but the ones I have met typically have more in common with us in this room than folks who go to church on Sunday on a regular basis. And and of course I can't speak for all of them, just the ones that I've spoken with. They usually have some sense or feeling or belief in something greater than themselves, but they just refuse to label it God because that confuses the issue.
And most of them that I have spoken with are people who think outside of the box. That's why the questions come. As long as we stay in the parameters of the box, nothing changes. So we are so far outside of the box until we don't know what the box is anymore. And that's a good thing. But I want to be able to articulate those concepts that pertain to all the things I just named. And I want you not only to be privy to that, but also to be able to do it yourself. Not necessarily the way I do it, but with the same conceptual understanding. That's what's important. Does that make sense? You can have a conceptual understanding and not even use the words that I use and articulate the same thing. I don't know what else I can say about this phenomenon that took place last week. I don't know what else I can say. Other than it is divinely orchestrated. And being so, we must deal with it in a divine manner.
Well, I'm glad it's being done today because the irony of what's going to take place tomorrow, you have the super divisive situation that's going to be handled by an institution where that same issue is very prevalent, like everywhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, you talking to a man who stood in pulpits and just denigrated homosexuals. And had to apologize for it when he realized how stupid he was.
Come a long way.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I did it, and I'm not boasting about it. I am ashamed of what I did, but maybe it was necessary to bring me to a place to really think about it, you know. And if I had it to do over again, of course I would do it differently. And what happened after that, I began to see differently. I began to look through the eyes of the divine as opposed to the eyes of the church. I refuse to look through those eyes. If you believe in post-Constantine Christianity, you will forever be confused. Because the ones who instituted, like little boys, that they've been molesting little boys. And the outgrowth of that is the rest of the Christian churches. If you believe in pre-Constantine Christianity, which is before the 12th century, then you have a greater opportunity to bring some order and clarity to mankind everywhere. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
So it is imperative that we make the distinction between post-Constantine Christianity and pre-Constantine Christianity.
I'm gonna put something out. Well, Sheldon and I talked last night, and I did a post last week on my wall. And I only did it because I was led to do it. And I put out what I only got 2 likes, but that was cool. But Barbara came back and it was refreshing. She read and then she posted and she liked it, and I put a response back to it. For the last 2 weeks, it's been like within me. I knew back in the Old Testament where the women wailed. And this morning it was heavy on me. It's almost like the well is dry, and this young generation, the generation that Jay is in, he's been talking with me constantly this week. These buildings that these kids are going in on Sundays, and these hirelings in these pulpits that are pimping them out. And Facebook is the media that they're using to post all the stuff out there, because this is what they're being led and taught and they're believing. But it's like they are so lost.
That's a good thing.
My son said something to me the other day. He said, Mom, what he was talking, he said, Mom, and he's not even sitting, that's why he said, Mom, it's like I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm in this world, but I'm not a part of this world.
I talked to him last week.
Yeah, and all week long he was saying, everybody that I know, all of his friends and stuff,
think he's crazy. And what he posts is like, he's more connected to us and what's going on, but it's just that he's like, no one in his age group understands him.
But see, and I won't say that. And that's one of the things I disagree with him with, that no one, they do understand. If they didn't, they wouldn't fool with him. Now, he called me and told me that he had watched the thing that we did on racism.
Yeah.
And the third one in particular helped him see a lot of things. I'm in constant contact with kids who are on Facebook. Matter of fact, that's where a lot of the questions came from kids who were, when I say kids, they grown, but they're kids under me. They were constantly asking me questions about postings on Facebook in regards to this and other things. These children are not in a bad place. They really are not in a bad place. And the people in the pulpit are not, most of them are not aware that they're wrong. They really aren't. And we cannot paint them with the same brush. The majority of them don't know they're wrong. They really, really believe that they're right. And they are usually being manipulated by those who don't care. The only thing they want is the prestige of being a big dog. So when we look at it from through the eyes of reality, and reality not being this physical world, when we look through it through the eyes of reality, if it had not been for those in the pulpit and those in the Sunday school classes, none of us would be in this room. None of us would be here. So what we have to do is keep in mind that something Sheldon said a moment ago is taking place. He said that it's good we're doing it today because of what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, what's happening now is that the positive, pure energy is being put into the macro. So that all of the other stuff that comes out, there is something to overshadow it. The light of it all is necessary. Right now, this instant, I see the reason the Creator would not let me come to Columbia on Sundays. I see the reason. And the reason I thought was because only people who were committed are supposed to be here. But it's bigger than that. It's much larger than that. The reason is because light had to be poured out. Positive energy had to be put out there in order to guide in terms of question and direction people who thought that they were right and not understanding that they're wrong. So that, you see what I'm saying? It has to be done first. And the thing that is percolating inside of me concerning that, it is no coincidence that we meet on the very day that the people who profess to be the chosen ones meet. We meet on the very day that if you literally read the scriptures that you're supposed to come, you know what I'm saying? Come together on. If you read them literally. So there's a lot to be said about the day, the day that we meet, the seventh day, the day of inheritance, the day where everything awaits a fresh start. The eighth day is the day of grace. It's the day of new beginnings. So we push forth a new beginning at the beginning of every week. We do it from Sunday is the first day of the week. And we push forth that. So what I'm saying in essence is that the Saturday is the seventh day, the new beginnings begin on the eighth day, which is the next week. Can you see that? So we have to continually do this and deal with controversial things, but at the same time stay focused on the direction that we're traveling in. Because if we cannot get to the place where we become the word church, our concept, and everybody else is going to hell in a handbasket. That's why people are into the camp of atheists, primarily because of the whole question of you going to hell because you don't believe what I believe. That's that kind of craziness. So now we look at the kids. Keep in mind, the older folks said the same thing about us. That we were lost. That we were on our way to hell. Y'all know it's true. They said the same thing about if you were in the club, if you if you were not in church on just last week, this kid had a concert on Wednesday, and the youth pastor told her that she had chosen music over God. That's crazy. We have to stay focused on who we are. That's all I'm saying. We cannot allow ourselves to get caught up into them and us attitude, because that's not the way it is.
Conceptually, well, two things. Conceptually, as you first started talking, I saw us being light advocates and like a bill passing through, and so it being signed or certified as being still light before it reaches and goes through on Sunday, so we determined that. The second thing we were talking about, the older people calling all of you crazy. Well, now, y'all, all of you old people have changed that, because now you are fighting for. I'm using it from his premise. He set the premise up when we were young old people. So now, all of his premise. Old people are now taking up for the young people and not saying that they are crazy and they're just some dumb radicals or something like that. You still are now empowering them now as well, so you're lifting them up.
The term is mature.
Huh?
Once
again, it's his premise, so I'm speaking his language.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Let me say this.
I need to communicate it on his level.
See, when I was in from the time that I was in elementary school through high school, I have been involved in civil rights. My earliest remembrance, I was 9 years old. And when I got deeply involved in it in college, it was the church who called us crazy. The church did not agree with Martin Luther King. When the church fought Martin Luther King when he first started. And the church did not get on board until the young preachers of that day formed the Progressive National Baptist Convention, so that he would have some forum supporting him. They only got on the bandwagon when the movement became popular. When he gained status, everybody wanted to be on the stage with him. And that has been the attitude throughout history. I bring that to you because I'm saying this. There are no more public stages for anybody to join anyone on. You can join the bandwagon, but the only stage that you go join on is one in the other realm, not this public stage, because that's not what it is. The real power, the real essence of everything that is not seen with your eyes, but with your eye. And until that is recognized, there will always be a struggle between what is real and what is purported to be real. There will always be a struggle between what is materially, religiously incited as opposed to what is spiritually revealed. There will always be those dichotomies. And at some point, what we do, we build a bridge between the two dichotomies. And the bridge being constructed is not a bridge to force anyone into the way you think, but it is a bridge to allow them the opportunity to cross if they choose to do so. And cross it without, I told you so, and cross it without, what took you so long, without all those little things that we can say to people that makes them feel inferior to us. So that's where we are. And I speak the way I speak, knowing that there are other people who think the way we think, but I speak the way I speak because we must act like that we're the only ones, because if you don't, you lose. You lose your edge. We got to stay sharp, and staying sharp is the only thing that's going to get us to the place where the swords are beaten into plowshares. Where this is what I believe. I believe that the swords that are going to be beaten into plowshares, the word of God, the word of the Creator, that's the sword of the Spirit, is it not? Mm-hmm. When the Messianic consciousness permeates the atmosphere to the extent that mankind recognizes it, that is when the word no longer becomes a sword that cuts, but it becomes a plowshare, something that nourishes, that digs furrows for nourishment. You see where I'm coming from? That's how I perceive that. So we are right now a sword. It must cut, but not cut the way we talk about cut. Not cut to hurt, but it must cut through the darkness so the light can be seen. And in doing so, with Messianic awareness, it permeates the atmosphere. Not only will those who see things from the eyes of post-Constantine Christianity be able to cross that bridge, but there will be a movement in both directions. And truly, we will become one, but many. The key to it is this. People who deny what's in the book, they don't do it because they want to. They do it because they've been conditioned to. I sat last week and I looked in the book, and I did the scripture, and I don't know whether I did it here or not, I do so much during the week. And the scripture that I dealt with was from the 16th chapter of Matthew, where it says that, you remember it begins with, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? Then it goes down to, I think, the 19th verse. No, let's back up before that. Yeah, 19th verse, when, I think it's the 19th verse, when Jesus says to Peter, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but it is my Father which is in heaven. Then he says to him, upon this rock I will build my church, and he gives him the keys to the kingdom of heaven, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in the 23rd verse, he says to Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. So, Satan has the keys to the kingdom of heaven, because he didn't take them back. That's what it looks like, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Come on. That's what he said?
That's what it looks like,
Yeah. Now, go ahead.
Well, but he has access anyway. Lucifer had access, didn't he?
That's not the point. The point is this. Jesus said, get behind me, Satan. Get thee behind me, Satan. Right? Then he says, because you are an offense, or you are a stumbling block to me. For you do not regard the things of God, but the things of men. First of all, how can Satan be a stumbling block to Jesus? But he said he is, didn't he?
Yeah.
Then he says, when he calls him and says, get behind me, Satan, he doesn't take the keys. But then later on he said, when thou art converted, convert your brothers, right? Now, this is it. The Satan is not something outside of us.
Right.
Peter accused Jesus of lying when he said that he must go and suffer the things and da da da. And Peter said, "Forbid it, that it not happen." Remember that? That's when he told him, "Get behind me, Satan." Satan means accuser.
Right.
This is what made him the Satan, and this is what has been missed. For you regard the things of men more than the things of God. Essentially, is what he said. But he, of course, he put it first. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So the Satan is the one who regards the things of men more highly than he does the things of God. Can you see that?
But isn't that
Yes.
what adversarial is?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take you another step. Then everyone in the room accepted that. But when I took the next step, they wish they hadn't. Because I took them to Psalm 82 and 6. I say that ye are gods. Do you believe that? It's just hard for me to wrap my mind around. Were you the Satan? By virtue of you seeing it in the book and denying the reality of it, you become the Satan. You the accuser. The things of God are not cars and houses. The things of God are the godly concepts. The things of men are the concepts that men have manipulated and used to perpetuate themselves and what they think it ought to be. That's what the things of men are. And as a result of that, everyone who stands there, whether they know it or not, and does that is Satan. And they sat there with their mouth open. And some of them were, I don't know whether I can believe that or not. And I'm saying it doesn't matter what you can believe or not. I don't care. I'm not here to force you to believe anything. I'm here to show you what's in the book. I told you when you came in here.
You provided that bridge, and they choose whether or not they will walk across it.
That's right. I told everyone I'm going to come into my class, everyone tell the same thing. I told y'all the same thing. You run the risk of losing the Jesus that you might come in here with. If you don't want what you think your theology is to be taken away from you, you need to leave. Because the book and what you believe are two different things. Give everyone, I say the same thing to everyone, and they mess around and stay. Now they through. But do you see my point?
Yeah.
You have to look at what's in the book. You got to do that. And when you take somebody to that first chapter of John, and it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, right? And then it say, okay, if the Word was in the beginning, in the womb of beginning, and the Word was Elohim, and the Word was with Elohim, so they are one and the same, right?
Yes.
And then when you take just that part of it, you don't have to go to the rest of it because that really mess you up. But take just that part of it and go to 82nd Psalm and 6. How do you deny that you are beginning? You are in beginning. And that this thing that we call reality is not real. So you have to be willing to let the sides of the box fall flat and walk out of it, or as Sheldon stated earlier, cross that bridge from one paradigm to the other. That's what this is all about. And silly me to think that we could talk for 20 minutes about something and go to something different. I'm going to have to learn better.
Would you tell us for much is given, much is so
Well, I have some more.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Doesn't matter what we've been talking about, but we happen to talk about the issue of homosexuality.
Right.
I wish Jamel was here because he does this so well. I gotta look it up and think about it. And he just
Yeah.
anyway. When we first came here, there were 4 men and 6 women. That's what we started with from the beginning. 4 representing Dalit or doorway to spirituality. 6 is Vav in the Hebrew. That's the 6th letter. It represents connection or that bridge that we've been talking about. Connection, unification. If you look at 6, just the number and not in another way, not from the Hebraic perspective. What?
There you go.
Not from the Hebraic perspective. It means man's wickedness, or it means the manifestation of sin. So there's that duality that we've been
Right.
talking about. So those total 10. 10 represents the law, represents responsibility. Looking at it from the Hebraic letters, 10 represents Yod, because that's the 10th, and it means 10. And Yod means spirituality, and it's projecting that spirituality, that unbridled energy, that all left, that energy of left into the physical. Okay, that's 10. That's what. And then at that point, you were saying, okay, either we believe this or we, this, I don't know why this is, but you've got to treat and respect humanity, and you've got to respect divinity in everybody. And then Janice walked in. Janice represented the 7th feminine energy type. 7 means completeness, spiritual perfection, but it's also the 7th Hebraic letter, which is Zayin. Zayin represents movement. So it's also that you talked about all this stuff. The sword. The letter looks like a sword.
Yeah.
Zayin looks like a sword. And so it's a weapon, and it can bring peace, or it can bring into being that which opposes peace. The issue is we set the tone for what we expect it to bring, and we expect it to bring peace. Talking about what's going to happen tomorrow, we're setting the tone right now for whatever it looks like tomorrow. It doesn't matter. We're setting the tone for peace. So we arm ourselves to either make movement, because that's what Zion is, or prevent movement. You talked about swords being beaten into plowshares. That's the same as that, what that Hebraic word means. Zion means sword. It can be a weapon of war or a weapon of peace. Selfishness is movement and connection without love. Okay, that's another one. Okay, so when Janice walked in, that 4 plus 7 equaled 11. I looked up at 11. That means judgment and disorder. On one side. But on the other side, it means the 11th letter is the Hebrew letter Kaf, which means crowning achievement. It means responsible for holding, covering, and letting flow of that energy, intelligence of left, that Yod. So it's the energy, intelligence of spirituality. So it's all about how we choose to direct with intention what's going on. So put it all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 7.
Sure.
7, the first 3 sephra here relate, in a sense, to brain. The other 7 relate to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So what we say and do here in love, with intention, shapes everything. And that's part of how we're the spirit point. We do it with intention. We knowingly do it. We don't just, it's just not flitting out there. When we identify it and we become aware of it, we make it known And as you say, everything that you said is in the macro, this is in the macro as well. So that's how we help to shape this energy.
So in essence, what we have done is put the energy in the macro, and the Creator will shape it into what it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that regardless of what's spoken tomorrow,
And we don't know Hebrew letters or
Right.
anything. We just take what we know
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and let it shape.
that's what I'm talking about, yeah. So regardless of what's spoken tomorrow, it will be guided by what happens. Yeah.
That's the equivalent of saying,
Yeah, today is 512. 511. 51.
Go ahead, Janice.
I was going to ask about the 4 and the 7 again, because I'm curious about bringing gender into it, just as another
Well,
layer
Oh, I see.
in terms of reception and
Well, I think
giving.
Pregnancy.
Yeah,
because of what?
reception and giving and just that
Oh,
just that other
receiving and
other
giving and
overlay.
receiving and
Yeah.
giving. Well, I thought about gender and I erased it.
Oh, okay.
Right here, gender,
Yeah.
and then I put the essence of the energies, and what the female represents is the feminine energy, which is the energy of receiving.
Mhm.
Also.
But see, and that's what truth
So it
is.
goes beyond the physical gender.
Right,
To the
right.
spiritual.
That's,
Truth
yes.
is not an action. Truth is not a word that's spoken. Truth is the verbal essence of everything that is. Truth is the substance that makes everything be what it is. It's the energy that makes everything what it is. And even if you look in Webster for a definition of truth or reality, it will tell you it is the verbal essence of everything that is. And that's powerful when you really think about it. Because you remember when you take the left from the truth, it's dead. It's dead. So there is no essence visible, which means that the left is totally hidden.
It always is.
Yeah.
But what we do helps to manifest
Even when it's
the
manifested,
essence
it's
of
hidden.
left.
Yeah. It's there, but it's not. Yeah. So. Well, anyway, any questions about what Barbara said? Do you understand what she said? And if you get confused and thinking about it later, just go online, look at it, or call Barbara. No.
No, all I'm saying is whatever we've been talking about,
Yeah.
if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, we've been talking about a lot of physical manifestation of what people do, what people say about homosexuality. But a spiritual way to look at it is that we are the sword point, and we can shape perceptions.
Cut
We
through
can
the
shape
darkness.
what is.
Cut through the darkness and let the light in. That's it. That's what we do. Cut through the darkness. Okay. Questions? If there aren't any, I'm done. So all that stuff that I said in the beginning about staying put because we're going to go to something else, disregard it. Because we be done for the day. And can you believe it? We did all this and Carolyn had not one question.
She's thinking.
She looked at me like, leave me alone.
How you know I didn't have a question?
Oh, you just didn't ask.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Okay, I'm done. Camera people, telephone people, thank you. And
Thank you.
if there are any questions whatsoever, please raise them when we come together later, okay?
Okay.
All right.
bye.
Bye.